I mean, if you were building a fortress today, you'd probably top the walls with spikes, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, that's just human instinct.
Right, because, like, if you want to defend yourself from the world, the instinct is to put up this hard, jagged barrier. We essentially equate sharpness with strength and, softness with vulnerability.
Hmm. But, well, what if the laws of physics and, honestly, metaphysical energy dictate that the ultimate impenetrable shield isn't jagged at all? Like, what if it's perfectly smooth?
Wow. Okay, so welcome to a brand new deep dive, everyone.
Mm.
Today's mission is it's exploring this really fascinating intersection of physical geometry and metaphysical healing, and we are looking specifically at the unique properties of dome-shaped crystals.
Yeah, which is a totally different way to think about crystal work.
Totally. We're working with this incredibly comprehensive guide on the physical and energetic properties of these specific stones. And we also have some deeply illuminating practical insights from a vendor named Crystals by Rob. So your mission today, as you listen to this, is to understand exactly how the physical shape of a stone entirely dictates its function.
Right, because energy flow is fundamentally governed by physical form. I mean, if you understand the geometry, you really don't have to memorize a giant textbook. You just understand the tool in your hand.
Exactly. This is your shortcut to using these tools effectively without, feeling bogged down by 1,000 pages of general crystal lore. So, okay, let's unpack this. We need to start with the foundational physics of the shape itself. Because to really grasp what a dome does, it kind of helps to establish what it isn't.
Mm-hmm. That's a great place to start.
We're looking at a structure that is sometimes called a cabochon when it's small enough to fit in a ring or a pocket, or an energy mound when it's larger. But physically, it operates on a totally different frequency than the shapes we usually see.
Right. Yeah, it really does. I mean, think about the geometry of a standard crystal sphere, right? A sphere radiates energy equally out into the surrounding environment in this complete 360-degree radius. It's ambient.
Okay, ambient.
Made sense. Right. But then consider a pyramid. A pyramid is designed to gather energy at its wide base, draw it upward, and then compress it into a very sharp, intense, singular focal point right at the apex.
Oh, wow. So it's highly directive.
Exactly. Highly directive.
So if a pyramid is essentially like a laser beam and a sphere is, I don't know, like a bare light bulb illuminating an entire room, a dome is something else entirely. It has this flat, highly stable base, and that flat surface acts as an anchor to collect light and ambient energy. But then it has this curved, completely rounded top. So is the dome essentially acting like a beautifully frosted lampshade, like something that gathers the light but diffuses it so it doesn't just blind you?
Oh, I love that. Yes. The lampshade analogy perfectly illustrates the physics of what we're talking about here. What's fascinating here is that a dome acts as a translucent lens because raw mineral energy can be incredibly intense.
Right. Especially with certain stones.
Exactly. Depending on the density and the composition of the stone, that raw output can actually overwhelm the human biofield. That subtle electromagnetic field naturally generated by your body's biological processes.
Like when you hold a new stone and suddenly feel jittery or lightheaded.
Yeah, exactly. Because your system is just receiving way too much, way too fast. So the dome's geometry takes that raw, unrefined intensity, draws it through the flat base, and uses the curved upper surface to refine and smooth the frequency. It moderates the output so your biofield can absorb the energetic properties at a much more harmonious pace.
Which completely prevents those sudden energetic shocks. The guide actually calls the dome a stone of gentle expansion and protective vitality, which makes so much sense now. It allows you to grow your personal power without feeling suddenly exposed to the elements.
Right, because the structure itself provides the pacing. You have grounding from the flat base and this nice gradual release from the curve.
Okay, so if this geometry naturally diffuses energetic intensity, it makes perfect sense to apply that mechanism to, like, our most volatile human experience, which is our emotions.
Emotions are rarely smooth.
No, not at all. They're erratic, they're heavy, they're completely unpredictable. The materials actually introduce this concept of the dome acting as a shield of serenity.
Yeah, and that deflecting mechanism we mentioned earlier, with the sloped walls, comes into play here. When you encounter environmental stress, chaotic situations, or just harsh criticisms from people, those are essentially emotional projectiles.
Right, and usually we absorb them.
Exactly. But the rounded surface of the dome doesn't catch them or absorb them the way a highly faceted or raw stone might. It allows those heavy, erratic frequencies to literally slide off your energetic field.
Wow. It provides what the guide calls mothering nurturance. It's that visceral feeling of being tucked under a protective wing.
Mm.
If you are someone who is walking through life feeling emotionally raw or vulnerable or just deeply burnt out,
Hmm.
that is a profoundly necessary container to have.
Oh, absolutely.
The texts point to specific crystal pairings to utilize this deflecting, nurturing shape. Like rose quartz is the classic recommendation for deep self-love and recovering from
Yeah.
heartbreak, right?
Mm-hmm. And then there is lepidolite, which is a fascinating mineral to cut into a dome because lepidolite naturally contains a really high amount of lithium, which, as we know, is used medically as a mood stabilizer.
Right, right.
So when you combine the biological interaction of the lithium with the smoothing, diffuse geometry of the dome, you get a highly effective tool for mitigating intense stress and anxiety spikes.
That is so cool. You also have smoky quartz, which the materials recommend keeping nearby while journaling, to quietly absorb and transmute heavy emotions without letting them linger in the room. And moonstone, which you'd keep on a nightstand for emotional renewal while you sleep. The vendor, Rob, actually refers to these dome stones as gentle allies, and he memorably calls them emotional hugs.
Emotional hugs. Yeah, it's a very accurate description of the tactile sensation of actually holding one.
I do have to challenge this concept just slightly, though, because if we are utilizing a shape that acts as a shield where everything just slides off, does that run the risk of isolating you? I imagine someone using this to just numb themselves out and become totally closed off from the world. Like, is it a bunker? Or is this more like an energetic raincoat, keeping you dry while you are fully aware you're walking through a storm?
Oh, it's absolutely an energetic raincoat. It is not a concrete bunker. The geometry does not block your capacity to feel or perceive. I mean, we have to look at the physical mechanics of holding these stones, particularly in relation to the heart chakra.
Okay, how so?
Well, when a person is experiencing emotional turbulence, their internal energy becomes really scattered and frantic. But the physical act of holding an ergonomic rounded stone in the palm of the hand or placing its flat base directly over the heart center, it provides immediate tactile grounding.
So it gives the nervous system a literal physical anchor point.
Yes, exactly. That tactile anchor stops the spinning. The shape gathers your frantic, scattered emotional energy and just brings it back into a cohesive, rounded, contained state. I mean, you are still processing the grief, the anger, or the stress, but you are doing it from a stabilized center rather than just drowning in the deluge. You remain open, but you are no longer porous to the chaos around you.
Okay, so if this raincoat effect secures our internal emotional state, what happens when we step outside? How does this same geometric mechanism interact with our broader energetic and spiritual environment?
That's a great question. On a broader spiritual level, the dome structure represents the celestial vault. Historically, architecturally, from ancient temples to modern observatories, domes have always been built to mimic the shape of the sky.
Oh yeah, they have.
Right. They act as miniature temples for the soul. The shape inherently represents the divine feminine, the womb of creation, and just a sacred space of gestation.
And energetically, because of that flat base, they function as master aura stabilizers. Because when you lay that flat base against an environment, it seals leaks. It creates a dedicated buffer against external static. And by static, we are talking about the pervasive electromagnetic fields, EMFs from our countless devices, or just the chaotic, dense, buzzing energy of like a crowded subway car or an open plan office.
It creates a coherent field, and chaos cannot easily penetrate a coherent, smooth, energetic boundary.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. If the dome is establishing this coherent boundary against environmental static, is it essentially acting like a pair of energetic noise-canceling headphones for your aura when you walk into a crowded room?
That is a perfect translation of the mechanism.
Yeah.
Because the headphones don't stop the noise from existing in the room, right? They just generate a neutralizing frequency that prevents the noise from reaching your inner ear.
Right. Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a profound spiritual lesson embedded in this geometry. Many esoteric traditions teach that to grow spiritually or to protect yourself, you must project force outward. Like you have to be aggressive, intensely focused, and constantly on guard.
Which brings us right back to the pyramid and the spiked fortress wall we started with.
Exactly. But the dome teaches a completely different paradigm. True spiritual power and deep healing do not require aggression. Profound growth usually happens under a blanket of quiet protection. It requires a gestation period where you are shielded from the noise of the outside world, those noise-canceling headphones you mentioned, so that you can actually hear the subtle frequencies of your own inner guidance.
That is beautiful. But, okay, we've explored the deep spiritual and emotional theory here. We really need to anchor these concepts into practical, everyday reality. Like, if someone listening wants to actually physically employ these mechanics right now, today, how do they do it? Let's move beyond the theory for a second. If I'm sitting at my desk and my nervous system is spiking from a chaotic meeting, how does a dome actually help me in that literal moment?
Well, the most immediate application is the stress-relieving touchstone. You keep a small dome, a cabochon, just right in your pocket. When your nervous system spikes, you physically reach in and rub your thumb over that smooth, curved
Like a
surface.
worry stone.
Yes, exactly. It's a physical pattern interrupt. The tactile sensation of the smooth curve stimulates the nerve endings in your thumb, which then sends a grounding signal to your brain. It pulls your focus away from the spiral of anxiety and anchors it right into the present physical moment.
It's remarkably simple, but neurologically it works. And for sleep, I imagine you just scale that up. You take a larger energy mound and set it on your nightstand. By placing it there, it acts as that celestial vault, pitching an energetic tent, a protective canopy over your bed.
It creates a coherent field for your parasympathetic nervous system to actually rest without being constantly bombarded by ambient stress frequencies.
And you can apply the exact same logic to a workspace buffer, right?
Right.
Setting a dome between your keyboard and a busy hallway just deflects the erratic energy of a chaotic coworker, allowing you to maintain your own focused bubble. But the physical mechanics of the dome truly shine when we look at chakra alignment and body layouts,
Absolutely.
because the flat bottom makes them absolute game changers for any kind of body work. If you've ever tried to balance a spherical crystal on your chest while practicing deep breathing, you know it just rolls right off the moment your ribs expand. It's so frustrating. But domes stay anchored in place. They lock onto the body's energy centers, and depending on the stone, they pull stagnant energy out or they push nurturing energy inward.
Yeah, the stability is key there.
So instead of just rattling off a list of all 7 chakras, let's look at why this specific shape matters for a few of them. Take the root chakra at the base of the spine. The recommended stones there are smoky quartz or red jasper.
Right. And using a dome shape on the root chakra is vital because the root is all about grounding your physical existence. A pointed stone there might feel way too intense, anchoring you so heavily that you start to feel stuck or lethargic.
Well, that makes sense.
But a dome-shaped smoky quartz provides a wide, stable base that connects you to the earth, but its curved top diffuses that heaviness, so it allows you to feel secure without feeling weighed down.
Got it. And then moving up to the heart chakra, we talked earlier about rose quartz or green aventurine.
Yeah.
Here, the dome's wide surface area physically covers more of the chest. It's not a pinpoint of healing, it's more like a broad, soothing poultice, just drawing out grease smoothly across the entire center.
It's very gentle.
And for the third eye, located on the forehead, utilizing a dome made of amethyst or lapis lazuli, diffuses the intuitive download. It opens your perception gently, rather than blasting your third eye open with a harsh psychic flood, which, can cause really intense headaches.
It definitely can. And this is where we get into some of the more advanced mechanics Rob outlines in the materials. He really emphasizes the importance of pairing these dome-shaped crystals with a grounding stone, specifically black tourmaline.
Okay, why is that?
Well, when you are doing this layout work, especially with high vibrational stones like amethyst or clear quartz on the upper chakras, your nervous system is processing a huge influx of subtle data. And that sudden influx can make you feel incredibly lightheaded, dizzy, or just generally ungrounded.
It's like running way too much electricity through a wire that isn't rated for it.
Yes, exactly. So the black tourmaline acts as the earth ground wire. It stabilizes the circuit. It anchors those high-frequency vibrations so that your dense physical body can actually integrate the healing rather than just kind of floating off into an energetic haze. Rob also utilizes clear quartz to cleanly amplify the radius of whatever dome you're working with.
There is one incredibly specific mechanical technique Rob details that honestly completely shifted my perspective. After you've finished this intricate chakra alignment, after you've carefully placed every dome and done the subtle work, he advises taking a selenite dome and physically sweeping it over the entire body from head to toe.
Yes, the selenite sweep.
But let me ask a logistical question here. Why do we sweep the body with selenite after we've just spent all this time perfectly placing and programming those stones on the individual chakras? Doesn't a full body sweep just scramble the delicate alignment we just built? It sounds like shake and etch a sketch.
I get why you'd think that. It's a very logical concern. But the mechanics of energy integration just work differently. The sweeping motion doesn't erase the individual alignments, it harmonizes them. Think of the chakra layout like tuning a guitar. You have just spent 20 minutes carefully tuning each individual string, each chakra center, so it plays a perfect, clear note.
Okay, so the individual strings are in tune. Got it.
Right. The selenite sweep is the act of strumming all those strings together. It takes those perfectly tuned, isolated frequencies and blends them into one cohesive, unified chord. It weaves the individual energy centers back into a singular, integrated auric field.
Oh, wow.
And most importantly, that final sweep seals the outer boundary of your aura. It ensures that the subtle healing work you just integrated doesn't immediately leak out the moment you stand up, check your phone, and walk back into the chaos of your daily life.
Strumming the strings to play the chord, that completely reframes the entire practice for me. It's not wiping the slate clean, it's locking the work in. It basically seals the raincoat.
It seals the raincoat so you can weather the storm.
I love that. So to recap the terrain we've covered today, we started with the foundational physics of geometry, right? A flat base for stable surface area grounding, and a curved top for the gentle, diffuse radiation of energy.
Mm-hmm.
We explored how that specific shape deflects emotional projectiles and acts as an emotional hug when your nervous system is fried. Then we scaled that geometry up to see how the celestial vault creates a protective, noise-canceling boundary against environmental static. And finally, we grounded it all into practical mechanics, from pocket pattern interrupts to body layout sealed with the unified selenite sweep.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. So what does this all mean for you? It means you don't need to hoard a massive, overwhelming collection of jagged, highly faceted crystals to protect your energy or regulate your emotional state. You don't have to build a spiked wall. A single, purposefully placed dome, whether it's anchoring your nightstand, resting on your chest, or literally just sitting in your pocket, can construct an incredibly resilient sanctuary of calm.
It proves that intentional form dictates powerful function. And this raises an important question for us to consider as we close. We've spent this entire time analyzing the physics of how the geometry of a small stone, held right in the palm of your hand, can completely alter the way energy, emotion, and intention flow around your biological field.
Yeah, a shape that's small changes the entire current.
Exactly. So what does the physical geometry of the rooms, the buildings, and the cities we live and work in every single day do to our personal energy? Look at the architecture surrounding you right now. Are you living your life boxed in by sharp, aggressive angles, jagged lines, and harsh points? Or are you finding ways to cultivate protective, nurturing, rounded sanctuaries?
Wow. That thought is going to fundamentally change how I look at the corners of my own house. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, look closely at the shapes surrounding you, and keep exploring the fascinating ways the physical world shapes the invisible one.